When you feel trapped, it's easy to believe life has locked the door on you. But what if that door isn't locked at all? What if it's a test of how far you're willing to push before it opens? There is a moment in life when you stand still, not because you choose to pause, but because you feel you have no choice. It feels as though your feet are cemented to the ground, and the road ahead is blocked by a wall so high you can't even see the sky above it. The mind, in that instant, begins its quiet work, painting a picture of hopelessness, telling you the story that this is where you will remain. This is the illusion. It's not reality, but it feels real. And feelings, when unexamined, have a way of becoming the truth we live by. The mind is both an ally and a trickster. When things flow easily, it tells you, yes, you can do anything. But when you face resistance, it shifts its tone and whispers, this is the end for you. What we forget is that these words are not absolute facts. They are interpretations. If you believe them without question, you become a prisoner of your own thoughts. This is why the illusion of being stuck is so dangerous. It convinces you the situation is permanent, when in reality it is only temporary. Like clouds covering the sun, it is only a matter of time before it passes, but in the fog of the moment, we think the sun is gone forever. Every person alive will encounter this illusion many times. It might appear when a dream seems to stall, when relationships feel stagnant, or when your own motivation disappears. And the irony is this, the illusion often appears right before a breakthrough. Imagine a seed buried in soil. From above, it looks lifeless, but beneath the surface, roots are forming, pushing through the darkness, preparing for the first sprout to reach the light. If you judge the seed too soon, you might think nothing is happening. That is the illusion. Progress is often invisible before it becomes undeniable. The danger of this illusion is that it pushes you toward inaction. You stop trying because you think nothing will change. You stop believing because you think the story is already written. But here's the truth. Nothing is more changeable than the human story. What you call being stuck is often just a season where life is asking you to pause, reflect, and redirect your energy. The wall you see might not be meant for you to climb over. It might be guiding you to walk around it, to discover a new path entirely. But if you stand still believing it's hopeless, you'll never see the opening just a few steps away. Breaking the illusion begins with awareness. Ask yourself, is this truly permanent, or is it my mind telling me a story? The moment you question the thought, you weaken its hold on you. You begin to see that stuck is a state of perception, not a fixed reality. This awareness is like light entering a dark room. It doesn't remove every obstacle immediately, but it allows you to see where you are and where you can go. And once you can see, movement becomes possible again. Finally, understand that the illusion of being stuck is not a punishment. It is part of the test. Life wants to know, will you believe the illusion and stop moving, or will you challenge it and keep walking? Those who keep walking eventually realize that they were never truly trapped. The wall was not the problem. It was the belief that it couldn't be moved. And once that belief shifts, the wall begins to crumble, revealing the road ahead was always there, waiting for you to step forward. Every obstacle you face in life wears a mask. At first glance, it might look like disappointment, failure, or even bad luck. But hidden behind that mask is a question, a challenge, and a possibility. Life rarely hands you growth wrapped in a beautiful package. It hides it inside something that feels uncomfortable. And the greater the opportunity, the more convincing the disguise. This is why so many people walk away from their greatest moments of transformation. They don't recognize them when they arrive. The truth is, life is not trying to trap you in difficulty. It is preparing you through difficulty. Every test is an invitation to step into a stronger version of yourself. but the invitation is never labeled as such. Instead, it might come as rejection from a job you thought was perfect. It might arrive as a relationship ending unexpectedly. It could appear as a dream stalling for months or years. In the moment, it feels like loss. Only later do you realize that the loss was making room for something better, something you couldn't see because you were holding on too tightly to what you thought you wanted. Think about how a sword is forged. The metal is not gently shaped. It is hammered, heated, and cooled over and over again. If the metal could speak, it might call this process pain, but the blacksmith calls it preparation. Life works the same way. The test you face is not trying to destroy you. It is shaping you, making you stronger, more precise, and more capable than before. Without the fire and the hammer, the sword would remain a shapeless piece of steel. Without your current challenge, you might remain unaware of the depth of your own strength. But here's the difficulty. Opportunity in disguise doesn't feel like opportunity. It feels like resistance. That's why so many people fail the test, not because they aren't strong enough, but because they walk away too soon. They see the disguise and assume it's only hardship, forgetting that inside every hardship lies a seed of growth. If you have the patience to look closer, you begin to see patterns. The rejection that forced you to learn new skills, the failure that humbled you into becoming more disciplined, the setback that redirected you towards something far more fulfilling. These are not coincidences. They are the quiet designs of life's hidden opportunities. To uncover the opportunity within a test, you must shift your question from "Why is this happening to me?" to "What is this trying to teach me?" The first question makes you a victim of circumstance. The second makes you a student of life. A student doesn't curse the test. They study for it, knowing that passing it will take them to the next level. When you approach challenges with this mindset, you stop running from them and start learning through them. And with every test you pass, you gain a deeper trust in yourself and in the process of growth. Remember, the disguise is temporary, but the lesson is permanent. The challenge you face today may be the very reason you can handle the success you'll have tomorrow. If life gave you the reward without the preparation, you wouldn't be ready for it. You might even lose it. But by disguising opportunity as a test, life ensures that only those who are prepared, patient, and persistent will receive it. So, the next time you feel the weight of difficulty pressing on you, pause and look closer. Somewhere inside that test is a doorway, and on the other side is the next chapter of who you are meant to become. When a challenge appears suddenly, your first impulse is rarely your best one. The human mind is wired for survival, and survival often means reacting quickly. But what keeps you alive in an emergency can keep you trapped in unnecessary struggle in everyday life. A reaction is instinctive. It comes from emotion, from habit, from the need to act without thinking. A response, however, comes from clarity. It is deliberate. It is chosen. And in the space between reaction and response lies the difference between adding fuel to the fire or calmly putting it out. Imagine someone throws an insult your way. The reactive mind immediately wants to defend, to attack, to match their energy. In that split second, you become a mirror of their anger. But if you pause, if you breathe, you gain just enough distance to ask, "Is this worth my energy? Is this even about me?" That pause transforms the moment. The other person remains caught in their storm, but you choose not to step into it. You are no longer controlled by the environment. You control how you show up in it. This is the essence of power, not over others, but over yourself. Challenges in life are often less about what happens and more about how you meet them. Two people can face the same setback. One reacts with frustration and quits. The other responds with patience and adapts. over time, their paths diverge completely. The first person remains convinced the world is against them, while the second learns that the world is simply giving them training. Every reaction closes possibilities, every wise response opens them. This is why the same obstacle that breaks one person can become the making of another. A reaction is fast but shallow. It is the surface of the water disturbed by a stone. A response is slower but deeper. It is the tide shifting with purpose. When you react, you let the situation dictate your state of mind. When you respond, you let your state of mind dictate the situation. This shift takes discipline, and discipline begins with awareness. You must notice the moment the reaction starts to rise, and instead of letting it spill out, you must hold it in your hands like a fragile object, examining it before deciding what to do with it. It's important to understand that responding does not mean avoiding action or suppressing emotion. It means channeling your energy toward what actually serves you. A sailor does not react to a sudden change in wind by panicking. He responds by adjusting the sails. The wind is the same for every sailor. It is the response that determines who reaches the shore. In life, storms will come, winds will change, and unexpected waves will rise. You cannot control that. But you can control the position of your sails, the steadiness of your hands on the wheel, and the calmness of your mind. The more you practice responding over reacting, the more you become unshakable. Life still moves, challenges still arrive, but they no longer have the same power over you. You begin to notice that the test was never about the challenge itself. It was about whether you could remain steady while facing it. And each time you choose a response over a reaction, you take one step further into becoming a person who is not ruled by circumstances but guided by choice. That is true freedom. If comfort is the classroom you prefer, discomfort is the classroom where you actually learn. Most people spend their lives seeking ease, thinking that a life free from discomfort is the ultimate goal. But if you look closely at your own journey, you'll notice something. The moments that shaped you, that gave you strength, that taught you wisdom, were rarely comfortable. They were the moments you wanted to escape from the failures, the heartbreaks, the challenges that stretched you past what you thought you could endure. Discomfort has a way of revealing truths that comfort hides. When life feels easy, you're not forced to look too deeply within yourself. You can drift on autopilot, moving without awareness, but when discomfort arrives, it wakes you up. It shows you where you're weak, where you've been avoiding responsibility, and where you've been underestimating your own potential. Like a mirror, discomfort reflects back the parts of yourself you might not want to see. And yet, without facing those parts, you cannot grow beyond them. Consider how the body becomes stronger. If you never challenge your muscles, they weaken. To grow, they must be placed under resistance. They must be pushed, stretched, and sometimes even torn at a microscopic level before they can rebuild stronger. The same is true for the mind and the spirit. Without challenges, you remain soft in the wrong places. Without discomfort, you never discover just how much weight you can truly carry. That's why some of the most powerful people you know didn't get there by avoiding discomfort. They got there by leaning into it. The key is understanding that discomfort is not the enemy, it is the training ground. If you approach it with resentment, you suffer twice, once from the discomfort itself, and again from the resistance you build against it. But if you approach it with curiosity, it transforms. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you can ask, "What is this trying to teach me?" That shift in perspective turns discomfort from something you run away from into something you walk alongside. It becomes less of a punishment and more of a mentor. Of course, the lessons of discomfort are not learned in a single moment. At first, you may still want to escape, still feel the pull toward comfort. But the more you allow yourself to stay in uncomfortable situations, whether that's speaking in front of a crowd, learning a new skill, or facing a personal fear, the more you build resilience. You start to notice that discomfort loses some of its power over you. What once felt unbearable becomes manageable, and what once felt like a threat becomes a sign that you're stepping into new territory. Ultimately, discomfort is proof that you're moving forward. If everything you're doing feels easy, it's a sign you're not growing. You're just repeating what you already know. Growth requires friction, and friction is rarely pleasant. But when you understand that discomfort is the true teacher, you stop fearing it. You realize that every moment of unease is shaping you into someone more capable, more adaptable, and more unshakable than you were before. And when the next challenge comes, you won't avoid it. You'll recognize it for what it is, another lesson waiting to be learned. When you stand before a wall that seems too high to climb, it's tempting to believe that progress is impossible unless you can scale it in one great leap. But life's greatest transformations rarely happen in giant leaps. They happen through small, deliberate steps taken consistently over time. The problem is, we often underestimate the power of small actions because we're fixated on the size of the goal. When the destination feels far away, the first step can feel almost meaningless. Yet it is that first step, and every one after it, that eventually dismantles the wall. Think of water dripping on stone. A single drop does nothing to change it, but a steady, unbroken rhythm over weeks, months, and years wears away even the hardest surface. This is the quiet power of persistence. It's not about dramatic effort for a short burst of time. It's about the quiet, relentless effort that compounds over days and seasons. The wall in front of you doesn't need to be shattered all at once. It only needs to be met again and again with steady action. The trouble is, the human mind often seeks instant results. We want to feel progress quickly, to see the evidence that our work is worth it. But growth doesn't always show itself right away. Just as a seed doesn't sprout the day you plant it, your efforts may remain invisible for a while. This is where many people quit, not because they're incapable, but because they misinterpret the silence as failure. They forget that beneath the surface, roots are growing, foundations are forming, and strength is building for the moment when change finally breaks through. Small steps also have another advantage. They keep you moving when motivation fades. Motivation is like a spark, it ignites quickly, but it doesn't last forever. Discipline, however, can keep the fire burning long after the spark is gone. By focusing on small, achievable actions, you make it easier to keep going even on the days when you don't feel like it. You don't need to leap the wall today. You only need to place one more brick of effort toward building the bridge that will take you over it. One of the greatest mistakes is to compare your progress to someone else's pace. The person who sprints ahead may appear to reach their goal faster, but speed without endurance often leads to collapse. The one who walks steadily, step after step, may arrive later, but they arrive stronger, with more stability, and with a deeper understanding of the journey. Your wall is yours alone to climb. It doesn't matter if someone else has already reached the top. What matters is that you keep moving toward it, one step at a time. In time, you'll look back and realize something powerful. The wall that once seemed impossible to conquer wasn't destroyed by a single act of strength. It was worn down by your consistency. Every day you showed up, every small action you took, chipped away at it. And one day, without even realizing it, you'll step over the remains of that wall and realize that the real victory wasn't in getting past it. It was in proving to yourself that you could keep going when it felt too far, too high, and too heavy. In a world that celebrates speed, patience often feels like a forgotten virtue. We are taught to chase quick results, instant rewards, and overnight transformations. But life does not work according to the timelines we set in our heads. The seeds you plant today may not bear fruit tomorrow or even next year. Yet, if you stop nurturing them because they take too long, you ensure they will never grow. The truth is, lasting victory belongs not to the fastest, but to those who are willing to endure the waiting without giving up. Patience is not the same as doing nothing. It is an active state of trust and persistence. It means continuing to work even when you can't see the results yet. It means understanding that progress is happening beneath the surface, even when the surface looks unchanged. Imagine climbing a mountain shrouded in fog. You may not see the summit, but each step still takes you closer to it. Patience is what keeps your feet moving despite the uncertainty. Persistence is the partner of patience. Patience keeps you steady. Persistence keeps you moving. Together, they form an unstoppable force. Many people have one without the other. They either wait but take no action, or they act without the willingness to wait. In both cases, they fall short. True victory requires both: the steady heart to endure the process, and the determined will to keep showing up, again and again, no matter how slow the progress seems. Life will test your patience by delaying the results you want. It will test your persistence by placing obstacles in your way, and it will test both together when the delays stretch long and the obstacles feel endless. This is the point where most people walk away, not because they lack the ability, but because they mistake the delay for denial. They think the universe has said no, when in reality it has only said not yet. The ones who win are those who hear not yet and decide to keep going anyway. The beauty of patience and persistence is that they shape you while you wait. If life gave you everything instantly, you would never develop the depth, wisdom, or strength needed to sustain it. The journey is not just about reaching the goal, it's about becoming the kind of person who can hold it, protect it, and grow it further. Victory without patience is shallow. Victory without persistence is short-lived. But when both are present, the success you gain becomes unshakable. And then one day, almost without realizing it, you'll find yourself standing in the very place you once only dreamed of reaching. You'll look back and see the long nights, the countless small steps, the moments you wanted to quit but didn't, and you'll understand why the victory means so much. It's not just the destination that matters. It's the fact that you proved to yourself through patience and persistence that you could endure every test and still keep moving forward. That's the kind of victory that lasts a lifetime. So when life feels heavy, when the road ahead seems blocked, when your heart tells you to stop because the journey feels too long, remember this truth: you are not stuck, you are being tested. The walls you face are not there to keep you out, but to see how badly you want to get through. The delays are not there to punish you, but to prepare you. The discomfort is not a sign of failure. It is a sign that you are growing into the person capable of holding the victory that's coming your way. Don't let the illusion convince you that nothing is changing. Every step you take matters. Every moment you choose patience over frustration, persistence over quitting, and response over reaction, you are passing the test. And one day, the moment will arrive when you realize the test was never about breaking you. It was about proving to you that you could not be broken. So keep walking, keep showing up, keep trusting, because every test has an end. And when you pass this one, you'll look back and see that you weren't stuck at all. You were simply becoming unstoppable.